Hi everybody, welcome to Zaks Chocolate. I'm Jim.
And Maureen.
And we are Zaks Chocolate. We're going to show you a little bit about what we do and our shop here. We're going to walk you right through it. While we're outside, we want to show you that we are doing courtyard pickup. It's touch point free, so you just order on the website or call, and when you get here, let us know, and we will have your package touch point free right here on the side. We just had a customer pick up and drop us off some lemons, so people are enjoying the touch point free service, and we hope you will too. So here's our little shop, Zaks Chocolate. So this is our home here in Scottsdale. There's my chocolate boss Maureen, my wife, and I'm going to turn this around if I can. Here we are. Hi, so welcome to our little chocolate home. So Zaks Chocolate is a couple of things. Zaks Chocolate is a craft chocolate shop where we make all our own chocolate, from bean to bar and bean to bonbon and brownies and ice cream and some other stuff. So we're going to show you how we do what we do. We're going to walk you through our factory. We're going to give you a little quick tour of our retail shop, which is right here in front of our, I guess factory is sort of a term that makes it sound bigger than it is. It's about 450 square feet, so micro factory. Our shop's about the same size, so it's a little operation, but it's home. We are just about to celebrate our 5th year in business, April 9th, and seems like forever, seems like a week, right?
Yes.
So we thought we'd start by telling you how we got into this mess. What led us to be making our own chocolate. So do you want to tell that story, or do you want me to tell it?
Sure.
It's your story.
So I used to make confections at home and just use good chocolate, and I was looking for something organic, which led us to looking online and finding organic beans and exploring the process, and then really falling in love with the process of all the different flavors that you get.
So that was a home hobby. I was the tester. Maureen learned how to make chocolate. She sourced beans online, and we were roasting them in our oven. And then she taught me enough, and we were making enough chocolate to get us into trouble and decide to open up our own business. So here we are. And what you see behind us is our version of an adult funhouse mirror. Actually, we've got these really cool mirrors on the wall. Oh, and right behind it, I'm going to turn this around now so you can see. Maureen's been wanting a metate for forever. It came, about a week or so ago. So hopefully one day we'll be able to season it and use it for demonstrations on how to make chocolate the way the Mayans did. So why don't we just do a quick run around the shop, and then we'll go into the back and show you where the magic starts. So this is our shop when you walk in. Normally the case is full of beautiful chocolates. Right now, because we're doing only curbside courtyard pickup and shipping, we literally left one piece on every plate, so we know what we have available. Doesn't look as pretty as usual. We kind of converted the shop for shipping purposes in a lot of ways, as you can kind of see. But when you walk in typically, and we're new at this, so bear with us if we're going too fast or if I'm not stable. I've been accused of that before. So this is a display that shows you a number of different things. Our bean to bar chocolates right here. So these are our 70% dark chocolate bars. We also have a 90%, and we just unveiled, they'll be on our website later, an 87% Marignon, Peru Marignon. And we'll talk more about origins in a little bit. We also have a lot of local products you'll see here, and all of these products are not only local, but they're things that we have an association with. We either use them as ingredients, or we've got collaborations where something we make, Cocoa Nibs, cocoa powder, is in this product. So it's a local collaboration. And we're going to show you some more of that later as well. So let's go in the back and show you our factory. Well, first, let's back up. Here they are. I wanted to show you what we do a little bit. So bean to bar chocolate. This is a cocoa pod. This came from Belize a couple of years ago from a demonstration farm at Maya Mountain Cacao that we were happy to help fund the planting of a couple of acres of that farm. So this is a real pod. Inside the pod are cocoa beans, which, if you haven't seen them before, they're sort of the size and shape of an almond, and they have a very thin shell on them called a husk, and the husk has to be removed to make chocolate, and it's usually you'll see it in this form, which are called cocoa nibs. So that's where it all starts. And we're going to go back into our shop right now. I'm going to walk you through the beginning of the process. It gets loud back here. So the first thing we do as we get these beautiful cocoa beans, which are sourced from a number of different places, mostly in Central and South America, although we do use beans from Madagascar and Papua New Guinea. They're all ethically sourced, and they're organically farmed. Some are certified, some are not. They come to and we keep them when we're ready, before we're ready to use them, in this cooler. So here's some of our beans. We have other beans that are in off-site storage, and we bring them in as we need to. So right now we have beans from Haiti in here, from Peru, from Belize, from the Dominican Republic. We have to hand sort the beans. It's a little bit messy in here because this is real. We get rid of things that are broken, that are not fermented right, and stuff that doesn't belong in your chocolate. Like I have a collection of rocks from all over the world, and the placenta, which is the stem inside the cocoa pod. So we sort them into buckets, and this is our roast batch size. Each of these buckets is about 20 pounds of beans, and then we roast them, and I'll show you our roaster now. So here's our roaster. Looks like a coffee roaster. Conceptually it's the same as a cocoa. We can be in the video too, so hi folks. So the roaster, we put the beans in the hopper, and we release them into this drum, this beautiful copper-clad drum, and they rotate, and when they're finished, we open the hopper. They fall out into this cooling tray, and the beans cool very quickly. So we like this form of rotary drum roaster because, just like with coffee, it gives us a lot of control over how we roast our beans and develop the flavor profiles. So I should actually talk about flavor profiles for a second here. So I'm going to turn this around. So flavor of chocolate really comes in 3 steps. The first step happens on the farm, and so the farmers, after harvest, will ferment the beans. And fermentation is something that you may or may not be aware of, is a key step in developing the flavor of chocolate. So just like wine, we talk a lot about wine when we talk about chocolate, and how it's a lot like the process of making wine in terms of complex flavors and certain terms of steps we take to develop flavors. Maybe one day, Maureen, they'll talk about wine being like chocolate, right? Instead of chocolate being like wine. Wouldn't that be cool? So, but if you get the idea of flavor profiles, different varieties of cocoa beans, just like different varieties of wine grapes, have different natural flavors. And so the first step is fermentation on the farm, and every step of flavor development, fermentation, the roasting, which we do here in this roaster, and then a step later that we take called conching, all have something in common. They all develop flavor at different stages, whether it's the unroasted bean pre-fermentation, the roasted bean, or later liquid chocolate. They all use a combination of heat and exposure to air at different stages of the bean to develop the flavor. So that's something that's in common about all of them. So after roasting, sorry, that was way too close. After roasting, we actually separate the bean from the shell, from the husk. We only use the inside. And I can't show you that part because our equipment for that is in a, right now, non-accessible space next door. So we're going to skip that. It's a mechanical step that basically crushes the beans, and Maureen doesn't know she's on right now, so there she is, hi. It crushes the beans and separates them from the shells. And then what we do is we put them into a stone grinder. So like that metate that I briefly showed you outside, which is how the Mayans manually ground down, we have the nibs. We have a machine by DCM, Diamond Custom Machines, that is a stone grinder. And I'm going to show you, this is a batch we loaded last night. So I don't want to get too close, but there are, right now, this has got 17 kilo, so it's not a full batch, but 17 kilo of nibs. It was coarse last night. It's very smooth now. We're going to add sugar to it, and a little bit of house-pressed single origin cocoa butter that we're going to talk to you more about in a second. So this is a new origin for us. One of the things I guess that's good about this time of year and you know, sort of the slowdown that we're experiencing is that we get to experiment. So this is actually a Dominican bean called Elvacia, and it's a bean that we used when we first started making chocolate at home 8 years ago. So we're experimenting with that. This is our first batch of Elvacia. So we started making chocolate 8 years ago at home. 5 years ago almost, we opened up our shop. And one of the things that's unique about what we do is we actually press our own cocoa butter from each batch of beans. I'm going to turn this sideways, get my hand out of the way, sorry. I am new at this. And so pressing cocoa butter is something that most chocolate makers don't do. We wanted to tell you why we do it and what it does for the chocolate. So I guess the short answer is we do it because we love the way the chocolate tastes with it. It's a mouthfeel, textural thing. So cocoa butter is a natural part of the bean. And I'm going to actually show you a little bit of what we're doing right here. So we are pressing cocoa butter right now in this canola oil press that Maureen's going to tell you more about in a second, because this was her concept, and you can see the nibs in here. They go down this hopper, and that's the cocoa butter dripping out right now. This is from the Elvacia Dominican beans that I just showed you in our grinder. So this is from the same batch of beans. So there's the cocoa butter, and it doesn't look white and pure. We're going to talk about that. And then coming out the end here in these flakes is cocoa solids or cocoa powder that we're going to grind up, and we'll show you some of the ways we use it and how you could use our cocoa powder at home as well. So Maureen, do you want to talk about cocoa powder? Okay, so Maureen's going to talk about our cocoa butter and why we do it and what it does.
So we use a seed oil press, which is basically just a screw press. We worked with the U.S. rep to come up with heat to get the best production of cocoa butter. Right now we have about 4 kilo of nibs in the hopper, and basically, if all goes well with it, you can go off and do other things. You don't need to be constantly keeping up with it. You just check on it every now and then. It does occasionally stop, so you do have to be in the area to know what's going on with it. But we typically will get between 45 and 50% cocoa butter from our cocoa beans. This one, like Jim said, is new, so we're not sure how much we'll get from it. But I think that's about it on the cocoa butter.
So the reason we do it is that we love the way that a little touch of cocoa butter, and it's not much, it's just a little touch of cocoa butter, adds sort of a creamier mouthfeel. So it rounds out the mouthfeel of dark chocolates. Dark chocolates, especially when you get into higher percentages, which means more cocoa, less sugar in the chocolate, they can be chalky, they can be drying, largely because of tannins. So cocoa beans have tannins, just like red wine grapes, and so that astringency, that kind of drying mouthfeel that you get if you have a really good red wine too soon, it's tannins. So that's what makes the chocolates at a higher percentage, darker chocolates, be drying. So we do it because we like it. It does take a lot more time. It is a lot more expensive because these nibs, instead of making them into chocolate, we're making them into cocoa butter. And so we don't get a full yield out of it. So, oh, you know what we should do? I found some cocoa butter laying over here, so that's solid, and we can show you what it looks like. Okay, long way. Okay, so after the cocoa butter solidifies, it basically is solid at room temperature. In that bin, it would look like this. I'm going to turn it sideways. This is in plastic right now. You can see on the bottom there's a layer that's darker. I'm going to turn it upside down. Hopefully you can see this. So it's dark on the bottom. This is upside down now. Dark on the bottom and kind of ivory on top, which is the color of cocoa butter naturally. It's ivory. So the reason it's dark on the bottom is that we get a little bit of the cocoa solids in our cocoa butter. So when you saw the cocoa solids, those flakes coming out, we don't get a full separation, and we're not filtering it. So big companies use hydraulic presses to get a full separation. I'm going to move where it's quieter. And with apologies, I know there's some questions popping up. We are going to try to answer questions a little bit later as best we can. So please do bear with us. And so you can see the separation. What we do is we actually make our own white chocolates as well. Besides putting a touch of this into our dark chocolates. And the white chocolates are tinted, and so these are in bags too, but these are actually two different white chocolates from two different origins. And you can see that not only are they not white, but they're different colors or shades of not white. Is that a thing? Shades of not white from each other. And just like dark chocolates, each of these white chocolates have dramatically different flavor profiles. So these are from Peru and Belize, and the difference is the one from Peru has a very mild, super creamy, just light flavor to it, I would say. And the reason is that particular bean has more natural cocoa butter. It's creamier. The one from Belize has a touch of fruitiness to it. So very different in look and taste, and part of the fun of what we get to do with, with our house-pressed cocoa butters. So, while we're here, should we talk about the Easter?
Yeah,
Okay.
so another thing about the cocoa butter. So when we were starting, we knew that we wanted to do confections, since that's where I started, and so the cocoa butter press was a very important part of, from the start, that we knew we were going to want to press our own cocoa butter. So, and then while we're here, so here's some pieces that we have for Easter coming up. So we have, here is our sweater bunny, which is a hollow bunny, and he's about
that tall.
Yeah.
What's he, 5 inches? 4 or 5
4 or
inches?
5 inches, probably 4 inches tall.
Okay.
And then we do a variety of eggs with different flavorings. We have the half round eggs, and then we have a 3-day egg with caramel, and then we do a little marshmallow bunny, and then a solid standing bunny in a basket, and a small bunny, and then a slightly larger bunny, and then bunny pops. And we do those in dark and milk chocolate.
And so those will, Maureen made these last night so we could show them to you because people have been asking, and thank you for asking. Easter is coming. It will happen this year. We hope to have these up on our website next week so that you can pre-order them for pickup for Easter.
Yeah, and any pre-ordering or just letting us know if there's an interest would be helpful, so we know how much to make and what size batches to do.
So after we grind those beans that we showed you, our grinder is way back there, and put the sugar in and grind it down, that will run for a couple of days, and we've made chocolate. Then we then go through a process called conching, which exposes the now liquid chocolate to heat and air and sort of rounds out the flavor. It has to deal with kind of driving off any remaining moisture, and it also manages sort of the final acidity and final flavor profile. Then we age our chocolate just like you would fine red wine until it's ready to use. And then we do what chocolatiers do. So that was all chocolate making. And now we're going to show you what a chocolatier does. So the chocolate maker makes chocolate, the chocolatier makes stuff with chocolate, and we make stuff with our own chocolate. So Maureen is a self-taught chocolatier, and do you want to just talk about tempering maybe a little bit?
Sure.
Okay,
The machine that we have here is a tempering machine that's a semi-automatic tempering. So basically, once you determine what temperature the particular beans that you're working with need, you set a melting temperature. When it's melted, then you pull it down, getting it ready to work. And we have the bars here are heated, and that's part of our vibrating table. So when you put the chocolate in, you can get all the air bubbles to come out to the top.
All right, and so each of the shapes we make is made with a different mold. The bars have a certain mold, and we're going to show you some of our finished chocolate. We're going to go back out to the shop, show you what we do with our chocolates, and try to answer some questions as well where it's quieter. So here we go. Say goodbye to the little chocolate shop, and back out front. So, again, our shop is really set up now for shipping as much as anything else. But we did put together a little display at our bar. And we're going to move the stools out of the way so you can see it better. And I'm going to turn this sideways. So probably, hi Kim, I know you're on. There's your product, Snacking Cacao, which we'll talk about. So most of what you see here are local products, except for our cocoa powder and some of our chocolates that we're going to talk about. Local products that we either use as ingredients or collaborate with. And typically when you walk into a chocolate shop, you're probably not going to see a bottle of bourbon and a can of beer, but and we don't usually have them out. But it's still morning in Arizona, so we do. No, okay, that's wrong. Maureen doesn't like when I say that. Okay.
So we use the bourbon in our caramel, our bourbon caramel, and we have at times done with the AZ Wilderness Brewing Company, their chocolate bunny berry. We've done a reduction and added that to some of our ganache. And
yeah, that was a milk chocolate malt ganache. Right?
Yes.
With the nibs, actually, we did one time too. We took the nibs back from the fermentation tank last year and dried them out and turned them into a milk chocolate and then to a ganache that went in. So the beer was made with Nicaraguan nibs that we do a custom roast for the brewery, and then we took the nibs back and turned them into a ganache piece. So trying to use and reuse as much as we can. Some of the other collaborations here, actually, this is a really cool product, this salted cocoa nib. So Iconic Cocktail is a local business that makes non-alcoholic mixers, so like their seasonal grapefruit fleur de sel that you see right there, and the salted cocoa nib, which is a collaboration that's co-branded. This is one of the coolest things that we've done. These guys are actually going to be picking up some nibs later today, so which we have right here for them. So these are Haitian nibs that we custom roast for Iconic Cocktail, and they infuse it into this mixer, which is great in coffee. It's great just to make a chocolate soda over sparkling water. It's great in cocktails. Gosh, we've had it with everything from Prosecco to whiskey and brandy, and it's really fun. And I even put it in French toast batter. So you kind of use it like an ingredient, like you would vanilla. So we should talk about some desert stuff, right? Because we're in Arizona, right? So here's some desert stuff.
so here's our barrel cactus seeds that we get from Cactus Kelly. So she harvests the seeds from the barrel cactus pod flowers, and we buy those from her that we use in our strawberry balsamic black garlic piece that has locally harvested black garlic as well as the barrel cactus seeds.
So from Reba Farms in Santan Valley. Yeah.
And then the other thing that we're still experimenting with is prickly pear powder. We currently use prickly pear nectar. We make a prickly pear ganache, which is kind of fruity, almost red wine tasting. And then we're trying to come up with something with the prickly pear powder that we're still working on to get exactly the way we like. And then the cocoa powder, so this is after we finish pressing the cocoa butter, we grind it up and sift it. And so we have a variety of different origins cocoa powders.
What's cool about the cocoa powders, and I don't know if you could see the color, the shading is, the lighting is not good here, but these are two different shades of brown and they have two different flavor profiles, which you can hopefully see on the label. So the one on my right, I don't know if it's your right or left, is from Haiti. And the one on the left is from Peru, San Martin. And you can see the different flavor profiles. So the one on the right, the Haitian is mildly nutty. It's kind of an all-purpose cocoa powder. The one from Peru is great if you're going to make sauces, moles, if you can use it as dry rubs, for grilling and things like that. So a lot of fun. All right, we only have 5 minutes, so we're going to run through some more of these products really quick and then answer some questions.
So here we have our coffee break bar that we make with Bergie's coffee. We use their Guatemala, which is a lighter roast coffee, and add that into the grinder to get a really nice smooth coffee milk chocolate bar. And then we carry a variety of snacking cacao. So one of the great things in the desert is the snacking cacao is peeled whole cocoa beans that are then roasted. So it does not melt. So when it's 115 degrees, you can keep the snacking cacao in your car and you won't come back to a pile of mush. And then we also use nuts from a local nut roaster in Cave Creek called Zaks. And here's a picture of our mixed nut bark and the packages of nuts that we sell, since we use that. And then we use a local fleur de sel with orange bitters in our, we do a salted fleur de sel bark.
Yeah,
As
chocolate,
well
orange, and
as
salt. Yeah.
local honey and local peanut butter. We do,
The honey, we should talk about the honey. This is one of the coolest things. Our cocoa powder is in this honey. So this is honey from a local beekeeper. And what Audra did is she took the honey, made a creamed chocolate honey with it. So this is spreadable chocolate honey made with our Guatemalan cocoa powder blend. It's beautiful. And these are all things you can pick up and enjoy while you have to be at home. So the peanut butter, by the way, I should say, this is a faux peanut butter cup because I sold the last one yesterday. I was supposed to have it here. So we're going to answer a few questions real quick that were kind of popped up on the screen earlier. Somebody asked if you get the same headache with chocolate that you do with red wine. You know, I always shy away from giving medical advice. You know, people ask about caffeine and headaches, and everybody does react differently to things. I think the answer generally is it's not the same, and most people don't get the same kinds of reactions to caffeine or other things from chocolate as they do with wine or coffee. And so going back to cocoa butter, somebody asked when do you add the butter? So the butter isn't really butter. I just want to make clear it's cocoa butter, which is a nut oil that comes naturally from the beans. So we press that butter, cocoa butter, the oil, from the beans, and we add it at the next stage right after the nibs are ground down smooth. So it goes in as part into that stone grinder, and it's blended in smooth with the sugar into the chocolate. And then somebody asked if, how long, I'm sorry, Maureen, what was the question?
How long do you add the sugar?
The sugar goes in about a day after the nibs. So we wait till the nibs are totally smooth before we add the sugar. Let's turn this around. And then the other question that I saw was, is there a year-round season for harvesting? So the answer is yes and no. So yes, there is. In other words, pods do mature throughout the year, and there is, though, peak seasons. There tends to be sort of a peak season in the fall and in the spring, and usually, depending on where in the world you are, one is a larger harvest than the other, but they tend to be two peak seasons. But farmers are tending to these trees year-round, and they're selecting the right pods year-round. So it is a year-round process that's sort of more concentrated all at one time. So are we good? All right, I'm told that time is up. Thank you guys for listening. We really appreciate it. Check out our website too. We have free shipping nationwide with orders of $40 or more, and you can do touchpoint free curbside courtyard pickup here, and we appreciate it. Stay safe. Thank you guys.
Thank you.